Rachael Ray, the woman who made a lot of people in the US think that they could be happy in 30 minutes, made a whole business with her genuine smile and easygoing charm. She wasn't just a TV chef, her voice was full of energy, and her eyes were filled with passion. She was full of happiness, love, and a kind of success that seemed real and doable. But there is another story going on behind the studio lights, the laughing, and the hot pans. One that is much more complicated, deep, and sometimes terribly human. That story starts with John Cusimano, a man she used to think was her fate, and ends with the cracks in the screen that no one could ever see. Before we can understand how everything fell apart, we need to go back to the start, when everything still looked good. In Glens Falls, New York, where Rachael Ray was born, the air was always filled with the smell of food. Her mother, Elsa Scuderi, was from Sicily, and was very strong-willed. She loved living in the kitchen. Her father had roots in France, Scotland, and Wales. This mix of countries taught Rachael early on as a child how taste and memory are linked. While other kids played with dolls, or learned to ride bikes, Rachael liked to stand next to her mom at the stove and watch her carefully season each dish. That's how she learnt that love could be tasted in every pinch of salt and every drop of oil. Rachael never lived in a glamorous world. The sound of pots and pans, and the long nights spent in busy restaurants where sweat and emotion were equal parts, were where she grew up. She worked at Sutton's Marketplace as a teenager, where she sold raisin bread and cider donuts and sometimes appeared in local ads. That's where she might have found the two things she loved most, people and food. Rachael saw the kitchen as more than just a place to cook. That stage was a place where she could be herself without any shame. She got a new job at the candy counter at Macy's when she moved from her neighborhood to New York City. But she soon quit because the routine and pressure from the company made her feel trapped. Although she made it on the spur of the moment, that choice changed her life. When she got back home, she started what she called 30-minute meals cooking classes. And very quickly, those 3 simple words spread around the world. Rachael Ray was a role model for many people who thought anyone could cook. She stood for honesty, positivity, and the comfortable idea that all you need is a skillet and a few minutes to yourself to be happy. Still, the irony was mean. Rachael taught everyone how to cook, but she was slowly losing interest in her own life. When success came, John Cusimano went with it. It seemed like fate that they met at a party. Rachael smiled big, and John, who seemed to be both a lawyer and a singer, immediately caught her attention. All night they talked about dreams, songs, and foods that most people would never say out loud. But no one could have known that this night would be the start of a long and complicated story filled with love, anger, and years of mental tug-of-war. Rachael was light for John. Rachael saw John as a shadow. They made each other whole, but they also drained each other. As her fame grew, he took on the role of manager, man behind the scenes, and guardian. But over time, that light started to make the shadows longer. There were rumors of treason. Headlines in tabloids hinted at some strange rumors about John. There was something in Rachael's eyes that no longer looked like complete trust. Even though she always stood up for her husband, Rachael never said it out loud, but she started to feel torn inside. She didn't like the rumors, but she hated the questions that started to form in her heart even more. It made her hate herself even more that she wasn't brave enough to tell the truth. She hated having to keep up a perfect public image. With a glass of wine in hand, she would sit alone late at night after the studio lights went down. She used to make people laugh. She was thinking to herself if love really did last as long as she used to tell others it did. Rachael Ray went from being a girl from a small town in Lake George to becoming a famed singer all around the world. But what she didn't expect was for the guy she used to call her other half to become a wound in her heart that wouldn't go away. It wasn't just love in their story. It was a warning that behind every happy smile, a whole world could be falling apart in the background. But, as with all stories that seem perfect, the bad guys always find a way in. There were more rumors when Rachael was at the height of her fame. At first they were just whispers in the background. Rumors spread that John stopped going to events with her because he spent too much time with his band, and often finished his nights with parties that went until dawn. But soon, those whispers turned into loud newspaper stories. The news came as a huge surprise in 2005, just a few months after their fancy wedding in Tuscany. The tabloids said John had lied to Rachael. Some said he was with prostitutes, while others said he was seen going to a secret New York club a lot. Even though there was no solid proof, the damage had already been done. Rachael put on a fake smile and went on TV to try to convince everyone that everything was okay. She was tired though, so her eyes told a different story. In a speech, she once said, "People can say terrible things, but what hurts the most is when the people you love start to doubt you too." The voice of a TV star was gone. It was the soft sigh of a woman who was trying hard to hold on to a love that had turned bad. John said nothing was true. He said he would sue and wanted justice for his name. The gap between them grew though, even though he denied it. She loved him still. But that love didn't feel pure anymore. It got heavy, like a wet coat she couldn't take off. For fun and to get away from her real life, she started to work more, take on new projects and film more shows. When the Rachael Ray Show started in 2006, she became well known in every American home. She was always happy, funny and inspiring on screen. But there was another Rachael behind the camera. Quiet, angry and sometimes so quiet it's scary. It was said that there were times when she barely talked to John, even though he was sitting just a few steps away. She kept him by her side though, which was strange. Rachael didn't do it because she always did, but maybe because she still wanted to think that love could be saved. He was still her partner in crime and her friend through good times and bad. But every new rumor and blog post that was mean to them broke that link a little more. The National Enquirer released a shocking story in 2013 saying that John often went to a swinger club by himself. Her fans were shocked by the story. Rachael denied it again and forced a smile on TV for everyone to see. But as the saying goes, the eyes don't lie. And on that day her sad eyes shut down even the noisiest studio crowd. She once said, "John and I never have a quiet day, but that's how we get by." At first it sounded like a joke, but everyone could tell she was in pain. It's possible that behind the doors of their picture-perfect home there were fights, tears and the clash of two hearts that promised to love each other forever. Scams no longer shocked them after some time had passed. They turned into a habit. John kept making music, going to big events with Rachael, and mixing her drinks on set. Rachael kept cooking, smiling and telling the watchers that everything was okay. People who paid attention, though, knew better. That wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone holding on tight to something that was going away. Could it be that Rachael really didn't like John but how he made her feel weak? America used to believe in the beauty of simple things like family meals and real love because of her. Now though, there was nothing but the faint sound of a spoon hitting a pot in the kitchen where she used to find happiness. The quiet was so thick it could break your heart. People say you can cook every recipe in the world except the one for happiness. And Rachael Ray might have known that better than anyone else. For years she pretended that everything was okay. Eventually the truth came out, but not through statements. It came out in the form of tired eyes. After the show was over and everyone went home, she would often sit alone in the studio. That stage used to be filled with the laughter of millions of people. It now only held the heavy sigh of a woman who had lost something much more important than fame. The storm came back, but this time it wasn't because of rumors. It was because of sadness. In 2013 she lived right next to a terrible accident. Gertrude, Rachael's aunt, died of frostbite after being locked outside her house by accident. The story shocked the whole country. Many in Rachael's family said she was to blame because she was so focused on her job that she had forgotten about the people she cared about most. She said she had to work, but many people saw that as proof that her fame had made her cold. The pain of her family's death now filled the cracks in her marriage. Rachael stopped talking. There were no reactions or answers. It was like the busier she was, the less she had to feel. So she kept working. But sadness comes back in its own way. It got into every scene, every word, and every fake smile. The year 2020 came, and her favorite home in the Adirondacks burned down in a terrible fire. The pictures, memories, and other things that were important to them all turned to ash. Everyone was reminded by the picture of Rachael standing in the rubble, her eyes sad and strong at the same time. No matter how strong a woman seems, she is still human, and can break, be afraid, and feel completely alone. John was still there with her. But being there didn't seem to comfort her anymore. Some said he loved her still. Some people thought they were only bound by brand. Because their marriage had turned into a business, these two people couldn't split up. No matter what the truth was, they were clearly far apart. Arguments took the place of talks. Laughter was replaced by cold looks. Instead of warm dinners, there were nights of quiet. Rachael Ray said in 2023 that the show would end after 17 seasons. Many people thought she just wanted to rest. But those who knew her well knew she needed to get away from the attention, the demands, the idea of the perfect woman, and maybe even a marriage that had stopped breathing a long time ago. "I'll sleep when I'm dead," which will be later on the show. Rachael was very honest when she talked about her life. There is never a moment of peace, but maybe that's how we stay alive. The words gave me chills, not because they were dramatic, but because they were so ugly. There was no longer any hiding or playing going on. In her marriage, love, anger, and fear had all mixed together into something that she couldn't recognize. John still sent sweet birthday texts, still called her my home for life, but those words didn't make Rachael feel warm anymore. It was a smile, and she answered with sweet photos and captions. Behind them, though, was a woman who finally knew how fragile love can be in this world. They now live in two places at once. Their new home in the Adirondacks and the old house in Tuscany, where they said their vows. Some say that Rachael only smiles in Tuscany. She cooks there for herself, not for other people. No one calls her name or asks about John as she walks through the sunny lanes. That could be the happiness she's been looking for the whole time. A little peace, freedom, and quiet in the middle of all the noise in the world. America learned how to cook a meal in 30 minutes from Rachael Ray. She has spent her whole life learning how to cook happiness for herself. Also, that recipe might not be done yet, because the worst truth isn't always the truth about someone you hate. That's when you realize the person who used to make you happy every morning is now just an echo of a love that didn't last. After the cheers stop, there's a strange kind of quiet. It's not peace as quiet, but the sound of everything you've lost. Rachael Ray's silence came late in life, when the cameras stopped rolling and the lights in her studio went down. For years, everyone had seen how beautiful her smile was. She was America's kitchen sweetheart. Even though life was messy, she made you think you could cook, laugh, and live better. What will happen, though, when the woman who taught a lot of people to enjoy the little things in life can't do it herself? That's the question that keeps coming back to haunt Rachael Ray and John Cusimano, the man she used to call her biggest blessing. They looked great together, didn't you think? Chef with a lot of personality and cool musical lawyer. She was a burst of kindness and words. He was cool, calm, and mysterious. People thought they had found balance, fire, and silence, chaos and calm for a long time, but something else was cooking below the surface. Some say that Rachael's drive, the same drive that made her business possible, was too much for John. Others say that John's quiet distance and the long nights he spent with his band caused a rift that couldn't be fixed by renewing their vows. At first, their love was strong and came from laughing together and talking late at night, but as their fame spread, their hearts became less loud, and maybe that's where the anger started. Rachael's friends and family say she got antsy. In the past, showing others how to cook gave the woman meaning. Now, she felt trapped in her own success. She did more than just make a name for herself. She turned into one. It wasn't just Rachael who smiled, talked, or emailed. It was the thing, the look, and the hope. And love began to break down in that high-stress environment of fame. There were fights like oil in a hot pan. Not all of them were about big things. It was sometimes because John stayed out too late, or Rachael couldn't stop working. But every little spark set things on fire. Over time, those burns turned into scars that neither of them could hide. But here's the catch. Rachael Ray didn't leave. She could have done it. She had fame, money, and freedom, but she chose to stay. That may be what makes her story so real. It wasn't the fame or the problems that made them stand firm in their belief that love, no matter how flawed, could still be worth fighting for. Rachael didn't cry when their house burned down in 2020 because she lost her furniture or her fame. She cried because her life was ending. The dinners, the laughs, and the moments with John. Some people took what she said seriously when she said, "Everything we built together went up in flames that night." But people who paid close attention knew she wasn't just talking about the house. John was there the whole time. People thought he was a good husband who was always by her side and protected her. But even dedication can feel heavy if it comes from duty instead of love. Some of Rachael and John's friends said that they lived like they were strangers and had forgotten about each other's feelings. Still, they showed up properly posed hand in hand to every anniversary and public event. When everyone is looking, that's what you do. You smile, you do your job, and you stay alive. Rachael called the end of her long-running talk show in 2023 the start of a new era. But for the people who knew her best, it felt more like the end. Not of her work, but of a time. The Rachael Ray everyone knew. The woman who was always happy and hopeful was gone. It was silent, deeper, and more fragile, what was left. She told the truth in her show, "I'll sleep when I'm dead." John and I have never been calm. We yell and fight, but we stay. It wasn't an admission meant to make you feel bad. It made me feel free. For the first time, Rachael wasn't running the show. She was just being honest. And her strength comes from being honest. The press like to say that Rachael Ray hates John Cusimano, but she doesn't. There's more to it than that. What she doesn't like about herself is how their love changed her. Someone who gave everything and built a business on love, only to find that she had nothing left for herself. She hates the void that winning couldn't fill. The silence that came after every fight. How love can become a habit, and turn that into anger. In spite of all the anger, there is still a tenderness and a strength of loyalty that defies reasoning. She might not love him as much as she used to. She might never do it. But she can't get rid of the years, the fights, and the laughs they shared during the hard times. To refuse to give up, even when love doesn't feel like love anymore, is a strange kind of dedication. That could be Rachel's best recipe. Not for food, but to keep going. She taught people how to make something new out of leftovers, and she's been doing that with her heart the whole time. I try to fix what's broken, burnt, or bitter, and make it whole again. Tuscany is still her safe place. It's the only place she can be herself, not the star or the brand. Church bells wake her up in the morning, and she cooks with olive oil made by local farmers. As the sun goes down, she and John drink wine on the porch. They don't talk as much as they used to, but sometimes peace comes from being quiet. People still don't understand why she stays. You should leave the man who hurt you so much, and the marriage that is more past than present. I believe the answer lies with the same woman who told us all we could make something lovely in 30 minutes. Rachael Ray doesn't give up in the middle of a meal. She gets it done, even if it's not perfect. Her marriage might be the same. Her goal might not be to save the right element, but to understand it. Because what we call anger is sometimes just love that has been still for too long without being stirred. Still, there's grace underneath it all. Rachael Ray has learnt that not everything in life has a happy finish. The mess, the heat, and the times that test you are what it's all about. The tabloids have lied to her. Disaster has hurt her. And fame has hurt her. She's still here though, cooking and smiling even though it hurts. Because she is that way. A woman who can turn chaos into comfort, and pain into art. That being said, the story might not be about hate after all. If a woman finally stops acting like everything is fine and learns to live in the truth, then maybe it's about survival. The messy, painful, and flawed truth. People can see her marks when she stands in her kitchen with her sleeves rolled up. Her eyes are tired but steady. She is no longer cooking for the camera. She is making food for herself. And that quiet act is a way to make things right. Someone named John Cusimano once said that Rachel's best gift is not her food, but her fire. That could be why he's still there. Maybe that's why he can't leave either, no matter what. The reason for this is that they still know each other, even though they are angry, silent, and tired. Not as husband and wife or as a brand, but as two people who lived through the same storm. Love isn't always nice after all. It can be stubborn at times. In a strange way, sticking with something can also be a form of love. So Rachael Ray is not a broken woman if you look at her today, standing between two worlds, the ruins of her old home and the vines of Tuscany. Someone will finally tell you the truth about her cracks. Someone who knows that hate and love are not enemies but rather mirror images of each other. That anger and love can live together. That there can still be beauty in a marriage even when it's worn down. Not how to cook, but how to keep going. That may be what Rachael Ray has been teaching us all along. How to stay put in the heat without giving up. How to let things burn and still be ready to start over in the kitchen the next day. Rachael Ray's story isn't just about numbers or recipes after all. The story is about a woman who loved and lost a lot but kept showing up in her own life, in front of the camera and at the stove. She has shown this. That much is true. It can still feed your soul when the meal doesn't go as planned. To the beginning, before the fame, the fire, and the quiet, there were two young people who thought love could make everything better. Like a poem, they met at a party neither of them had planned to go to. Strangers, laughing, and the buzz of New York nightlife all around. Rachel, who was full of life and wit, got John totally wrong. She believed he was bisexual. She even tried to get him together with a friend of hers. Destiny is funny though, because by the end of the night, they were chatting like old friends who had forgotten they knew each other. It was 4 a.m. when they said goodbye for good. They didn't know it yet, but they just changed each other's lives forever. Their love was simple in those early years. They laughed, cooked, and stayed up too late. As Rachel once said, John made her feel like home. Maybe that's why it hurts now. The people who make you feel at home can also teach you what it's like to lose it. Their lives changed when Rachel's star rose. People took pictures at the meals. The laughing got used to it, and the times they used to treasure became memories they didn't have time to think about again. Fame can make you feel good about yourself but not good about your soul. Though Rachel knew what was going on, it was too late to turn around. John saw her grow from a woman who loved cooking into a brand that had to keep making things. Every look, every smile, and every recipe was part of the process. He loved her, but sometimes he couldn't get through to her. Watching someone you care about turn into a stranger is creepy. You can't follow them now that they're successful, not because they've changed. John began to move away with his quiet restraint and hidden sadness. His music helped him get away. Rachel's work was taken over by her, and the space between them turned into a language that neither of them could understand. Of course, there were still good times. It's a happy time for them, with road trips and nights in Tuscany where they drink too much wine and forget about everything else. But over time, those times became less common. As soon as the camera went off, there would be quiet again. Rachel once said that her and her husband's marriage is like a fight that never ends. It's possible that she was saying that she knew that love and pain can live together, because love that is loud, fiery, and stubborn doesn't go away quietly. It hurts, scars, and marks you. A lot of people think that success will lead to peace. The truth is, though, that the air gets thinner as you rise. Rachael Ray had everything that everyone else thought she should have. She had fame, money, a loving husband, and a lovely home, but she still felt pain that nothing she did could ease. She learned that being praised by people is not what makes you happy. You can feel your heartbeat when no one is around. It had been getting weaker for years. Rachael fought hard for John when the press came after him with cheating rumors, club stories, and scandalous headlines. A few people said it was denial. Some people said it was love. She knew deep down that the world was crueler than any truth she could face, so it could have been both. She wasn't ready to let the world eat John up, even though he had let her down. That's love's weird side. When something breaks you, it can make you protect it. She once said, "Everyone talks about other people, but it hurts when it hits home." Her voice got a little weak as she said it. It wasn't just a sentence, it came from a wound. After that, they lost. The death of her aunt, the fights in the family, the fire, and being worn out. Life put her to the test in every way. Still, she stood there through it all. That might be what makes Rachael Ray unique more than any show or recipe. Her refusal to give up. She found a way to rebuild even after everything she worked on burned down. Other people saw sorrow, but she saw a blank page. She once said that you can still love someone if you can still feed them. Rachael thinks that way, and it might be her way of being forgiven. Rachael now lives in peace between her two homes, the house she rebuilt in Adirondack and her villa in Tuscany. The woman who used to be frantic about due dates and TV scripts moves more slowly and deliberately now, as if time has finally let go. She still cooks, but not the same way. The kitchen isn't a stage anymore, it's a safe place. She doesn't rush or measure. She lets things build up. That's a metaphor for something. The act of waiting for things to happen, believing that taste needs heat and that even bitterness can develop into richness with time. That could be her story. She may have learned that if you know how to taste them, even the most burned parts of life can still feed you. John still shows up next to her. They smile and tell jokes every once in a while. People who aren't there will never know if that smile means acceptance or distance. And maybe it doesn't matter, because what they have left is something more difficult than love and stronger than hate. They have a past together and have tried many times and failed many times. You know that some relationships don't have to be perfect in order to be meaningful. You might be curious about whether Rachael still doesn't like John. Not in the way you think, though. To hate her is not to be angry or upset. It's just tiredness, because you've given too much of yourself to someone who will never really understand you. It's the anger that stays after too many fights and not enough saying sorry. But there's a strange tenderness and a sense of why she stayed under all that hate. That girl who looked at John and thought she'd found love once thought of him again. And maybe that's what makes Rachael Ray's story so beautiful, even though it's sad. It's not a love story or a tragedy. It's both. It's life as it really is, without any filters. A lesson that being in love isn't always about being happy. It's sometimes about being human. And Rachael's biggest victory is that she is human, even though she is broken, angry, and full of contradictions. As the sun goes down over the rolling hills in Tuscany, Rachael reads poems out loud sometimes. The air smells like rosemary and smoke. To John, she said those words years ago, when everything still seemed possible. Under any circumstance, I would still choose you. No one can say for sure if she still means them. But the fact that she remembers them is enough. Memories, like love, can stay with you even after you give them up. She doesn't see bad guys or victims when she thinks about the past. She sees two people who did their best with what they had. That may be the fact that most of us follow. We fall in love, fight, lose, and then get back together. The lesson stays the same, even though the details change. Rachael Ray's life isn't just about being famous, getting married, or being in trouble. The story is about what it means to keep living your life, even when things don't go the way you planned. That's why her story speaks to so many people. It's not just her story. It's ours. It's the quiet pain of desire to be understood. The guts to keep cooking even when the kitchen is on fire. It would be easy to leave, but you can choose to stay. The sad truth is that love doesn't always save you. Sometimes it changes you. So the next time you hear Rachael's raspy laugh or see her standing in front of a stove, don't just see the famous person. See the soldier. See the woman who turned every rumor, broken heart, and burned meal that life threw at her into something that feeds people today. Because that's what she really does well. Not the recipes or catchphrases, but the lesson that we can still make something good after everything. The loss, the anger, and the ashes. That's why Rachael Ray's story doesn't end in anger, no matter what anyone says. It comes to a true end. It's quiet when she puts two plates on the table, one for herself, and one for the guy who's still sitting across from her after all this time. It's quiet after the storm and the kitchen light flickers. It's possible that they don't talk as much now. There may be no need for the words. There is something holy in that quiet, that fragile human silence. Not how wonderful love is, but how long it lasts. That lasts through the years, the noise, and the rumors. And just maybe, that's enough.